my story, though for the best part, your story too. Our story, a story about a place in this vast universe where a singular continent's culture, geography, economy, politics, and history are all at their core, indivisible. That place is Africa. My name is Femi Elufowoju Jr., and I insist on being called Uncle or Mr. to those of you who are younger than me. And I say that because I would do the same as a mark of respect to my elders. I'm an African. I belong to that unfortunate club of second-generation Nigerians who were bred through the cool British age of chopper bikes, curly whirlies, Gary Glitter, and Top of the Pops. My siblings and I moved to Africa with our parents in the 70s. I survived boarding school, got myself rusticated from university for wearing leg warmers before returning to the UK aged 23. Now, despite my early trauma, I have spent the last 36 years living, breathing, and loving my continent. At home and abroad, I have witnessed firsthand the legacy of colonialism, and for years post-independence, I continuously watch with much agony a new wave of foreign supremacy suppressing the continent. But let me talk to you more on the personal ambition that I embarked on, which was a mad odyssey to visit all 54 countries in Africa before I reached 60, which was last year. In each of those countries, my central aim was to achieve up to 3 to 5 things. Number 1, engage with my people. Number 2, experience the local cuisine. Number 3, have a haircut. Number 4, procure the national currency in whatever denomination. And where available, number 5, buy a newspaper. And there's a reason for every one of those things. If I couldn't achieve all 5, if I couldn't achieve 3, then my mission has failed. The overall objective is to capture the essence of the nation and imbue its spirit. I will, with regularity, ask the following questions. What makes each country tick? What peculiarities separate and unite us, respectively? And as an African, a proud Nigerian for that matter, I want to discover how African Africa would allow me to be. So I hope 5460 Africa offers you, the reader, a broader insight into an astonishing continent you thought you already knew. Now, the book is not out yet, so you can't read it. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to play back a 7-minute travelogue in pictures and with music on our screens right now. And all you need to do is just relax and soak in the information, which is just pictures, no words to read. There is music. I wrote a song. I was stranded between Djibouti and Hargeisa, Somaliland, one night, Djibouti desert. And up to that point, I'd done 37, 38 countries, and I just thought, hey, the moon's out, the sand's out there, the crickets were sounding. I needed to put my mind to paper, and I wrote the song and the music, which is the backdrop to this slideshow. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Here we go. Thank you, James. I'm about to press go. This is a song about Africa like no other. It's about the heroes, the sheroes that have gone before, and the people, the places they've left behind. A place called home.
5460 Africa.
Thousands of hills and mountains. And in our homes, sounds of the children laughing. We are one history. We are one people, one voice. We are one people. We are one people, one voice.
Oh yes. Stronger hands, veils over mothers weeping. Africa, slaves to our own land.
You know.
Phones to our sisters keep
Africa.
There's no two people.
Believe.
We are one people, one voice.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. We are one people. We are one people, one voice. Well,
5460 Africa.
when are you Juba?
That's right.
Kampala, Victoria. Maseru, Accra. Bamako, Harare. Gonduni, Poli. Maputo, Nairobi. Moroni, Mbabane. Tunis, Porto Novo. Adana, Narabiko. Addis Ababa. Aklan, Abuja. Bissau, Freetown. Abone, Jamaica. Conakry. Dodoma, Monrovia. Bangui, Rwanda.
But took our land hundreds of years to pay in. Pride our backbone, sweat, blood, blisters abating.
That's right.
Smiles on our faces,
Mandela.
shrouding our places, one voice.
Lumumba.
We are one people. We are one people, one voice.
Come on.
We are one people. We are one people, one voice.
Mami. Is she?
We are one people. We are one people, one grains of sure sand, horizons of hope, my people. Ocean of God's plan, one land, no war, no bleeding.
Maria Maba. Taito. Beitu.
We are one history.
Sankara.
We are one people, one voice. We are one people. We are one people, one voice.
My queens.
We are one people.
Sing.
We are one people, one.
Hey!
We are one people.
Benny.
We are one people, one. We are one people.
We good.
We are one people.
Emily Yoruba, Ashanti, Arabic, Kikuyu, Zulu, right.
We are one people.
One president, one currency, one language, one land. That's what we're talking about. No more color mentality.
This is our end. Young ones in handstand chanting.
Time is now, despite our plight, uphold Africa.
We are the future. We are one people, one voice. We are one people. We are one people, one
We are one people.
Hey,
We are one people.
sing.
We are one people. We are one people. We are one people. We are one people.
That's right. Let's go.
We are one people.
Oh, yeah, my people.
We are one people.
Clap your hands.
We are one people. We are one people. We are one people.
Well, I'm so happy that worked because we didn't have a tech run for that. And thank you very much, team. You're amazing. James. By the way, some of you might be wondering why we have tables and you're sat like you're in a classroom. It's because I'm going to be a teacher and you're going to be students and you're going to be teaching me about my own continent. There's going to be a quiz basically at the end of the session. And the tables represent groups. You're going to give yourselves, each table, you're going to give yourselves a name to the group, okay? There's going to be a PowerPoint quiz, 25 questions, and the winning group, there's a prize, I believe. Tell them about it. Well, no, it's a surprise, right? Okay. The other thing is, because it's a quiz and the day and age of the internet, I'm gonna just ask if people could put their phones away and not Google for the answers, even though they are going to be pretty simple questions. The likelihood is that you'll be kind of getting into that competitive streak, yeah, and go for the phone. So here we go. It's up to you now to start off. Yeah.
Thank you, Femi. This is really awesome. It's extraordinary, actually. It's an African Odyssey. Maybe we should call it a Femi-C. We're privileged to have it, to be able to enjoy this before it's published. I can't even imagine undertaking such a project. First of all, I'd like to ask, how would you describe this work? Is it a travelogue, a biography, a memoir? I've read parts of it, and to me it seems to contain all those strands. So how would you describe it? How would your publisher describe it or market it?
Oh, well, the marketing bit I can't talk about because it's going to probably rage the literary world. I have this idea, I'm going to share it. I have this idea that every chapter, there's 54 chapters, obviously, and that each chapter would have a QR code on the first page of that chapter, and so you can scan it, and as you're reading, you'll be listening to the music that inspired me as I went along that journey within the country. So I've said it now. That's probably going to be one of the #1 marketing flags,
strategies,
so to speak. But in answer to your question, what is it? Is it a travelogue? Is it a biog? Or is it a hybrid? I think it is a hybrid because essentially I embarked on this mission by virtue of being an imposter. I ran a company in the UK for about 15 years, And that company, in its 11 years under my leadership, its mission statement was to be the go-to company for African theatre in the UK. But to be perfectly honest with you, for like 99.9% of my time as the founder and the artistic director, most of the work we were doing were Nigerian. So I left the company feeling really, really rotten, that I felt that I had fraudulently misled the country. And so when I stepped down, I took it upon myself to unlearn everything I knew about myself as a Nigerian and literally pick up my rucksack and travel through the continent to know it much better. So if I then talk about the continent through the arts, I'm talking from a position of information.
Talking about the whole continent.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's definitely a hybrid. Yeah, I think it's definitely a hybrid, which I think matches the richness of the experience of traveling around the continent. Yeah. So I've noticed that some of the countries you visited as a child, of course, you were in Nigeria a lot as a child, but you also visited, I believe, some of the other countries. I can't remember if Ghana was as a child, but this trip was like the totality of your visiting these 54 countries wasn't all done in one stretch. Some of them were countries you visited in your childhood or you know, at some point in your life, and then you visit the others that were remaining, right? Yeah. So it wasn't done in one stretch as an adult.
So what kicked it off unconsciously was that first trip in 1974 at the age of 12, leaving Southampton on a boat ship from the UK, heading to West Africa for the first time. That was 14 days at sea, stopping off at Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ghana, and then Nigeria. So there were 4 countries already.
Okay.
But as a child, I had flants of fancy of what Africa was like.
Yeah.
And so those 4 visits didn't feel like I was educating myself. I was literally tripping, you know. Preconceived ideas of what Africa I'm allowed as a child. However, in 2015, when I picked up the baton again, that's when I made the mission statement to revisit all those countries, including the ones that I hadn't in 7 years. And I gave myself the 31st of October, 2022 to do that.
Wow, that's amazing. And you did accomplish that?
Well, I actually visited 56.
Okay.
Because there are 2 countries that are arguably
already
unconstituted legally as countries.
Right.
They don't count as the 54. I'm not saying that. That's the world.
Yeah.
But in order to feel completely embracive of the continent, I decided to do Western Sahara and Somaliland.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, you've partially answered the question, what made you undertake this crazy, ambitious project? Is there anything you left out of your motivation to undertake this?
Well, I say it in my preface that I'm also curious in the continent interrogating me as an African.
Yeah.
By virtue of the fact that I was erroneously born, mistakenly born in Hammersmith. I'm prejudged every time I come to my continent, you know, and I'm always having to rubber stamp. Listen, you need to respect me the way I ought to be respected if I live here. I'm an African. Yeah. Like I said, I live and I virtually live in Africa more than I live now as an adult than I live
in the UK.
And I only live abroad by virtue of the fact that I've got family that I have to nurture.
And
but
work.
This is my home. Ghana is my Africa is my centerpiece. It's my bedrock. Okay. It's what I predicate everything I do in life on.
Now you're a film actor, a theater actor, a film director, a theater director, an opera director, a writer. Where does this journey you undertook, where does it fit in with the rest of your work? Was part of it aimed at getting inspiration for the rest of your work?
Funny enough, when in 2015, when I was in South Africa, just a bit of background. What it was, I did a job in South Africa. It was a theater piece set in Morocco. It was a big company. They had a big, massive South African tour. And I remember there being a break of 3 weeks between. We had a break in performance, basically, and we had a 3-week gap, and everyone was flying back to the UK. And I just said, I just went up to the producers. I said, look, we got these 3 weeks, right? Do I have to go back? And she said, no. And I said, can I actually stay? I will pay my way. You know, you don't need to pay my hotel bills or anything. Yeah. I will pay for my stay, because I think I want to use those 3 weeks. And it was just curiosity. I knew that South Africa was landlocked with so many other Southern African countries. And I just felt, for 3 weeks, let me just go on a holiday visiting all those countries, the neighbors, and then I'll come back. So basically, they all left, I stayed, and I started my odyssey. However, I had no idea that halfway through that odyssey, I was going to become inspired to continue and to then write and then produce a book, as in a stage play out of it.
Okay, so there is a stage play.
It's been written, it's been workshopped, and it's just ready to go.
Okay, so maybe in a future edition we'll get to see at least
most
a
definitely.
piece of that.
You're going to get a preview tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so yeah, you've lived between the UK and Nigeria among lots of travels. Your life has consisted of straddling cultural spaces. You've already talked a little bit about your motivation and your relationship with Africa, but I'm just wondering, was it in a way a search for self, making this incredible journey? One of the phrases that stuck with me when I read parts of it was, as an African, a proud Nigerian for that matter, I also want to discover how African Africa would allow me to be. So can you speak to that?
Yeah. So my early childhood in Nigeria was very exciting, albeit challenging. Coming into a country where the ethos, I was so far removed from the ethos as an 11, 12-year-old child living in the sticks, Ikiti, Ado Ikiti. My parents worked in a university in down south, and I was sent up northwest Nigeria to school. And I was in boarding school, and it was tough. I was being judged for the Britico that I was. I had I talked a bit like that, do you know what I mean? I had a Cockney accent. So that plagued me for 2 years, having to fit in. So identity became an issue. Yeah. I then transitioned into the grown cocky Nigerian that I needed to be able to face those wars, you know? And as a 21-year-old, I was now, in my own opinion, really astute and formidable. I'm a Nigerian, I'm a black man. I then get on a plane and I go back to London. And in London, I'm being interrogated again for my Nigerianness. Yeah. And so I needed to find home. I didn't know where home was. I don't think this is a new phenomenon. I think it's happening again and again through marriages, through displacement geographically. Yeah. And so the book and the journey, the quest, was helping me. It was therapy, really, for me, to be able to come back to Nigeria, have certain questions to Africa generally, to have certain questions that I needed to ask my people through what I did and through seeing and appreciating what they did, and having a conversation, a discourse about that, and the same going back to the UK. If that answers the question. Yeah,
it does. I mean, I think that shows almost a love affair with the continent. That is a true commitment to finding your identity.
Yeah. Because I didn't want to run away from it.
No. No, I salute you for that, actually. Because many of us have identity issues, but we don't all travel to all the countries of Africa to tackle them. I think that was an amazing journey. Which aspects of your multicultural journey would you want your children to share, and why?
Okay, so we're going full ring circle here. As I said earlier on, I was mistakenly born in the UK. My children, by virtue of their birth, were born outside of Africa. And so therefore, they're at a disadvantage, even worse disadvantage than I was back then. Because in actual fact, the generation of parents of which I belong to, we're not that committed in trying to write their perspective of Africa. Yeah. There's what we call an apathy, parental apathy going on. So the children are just growing up as nomads, and they look upon their continent with one eye, thinking they're if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And so as a parent, I have a duty to ensure that my children are as African to a point that I am very happy with. You know, they have to understand the ethos of being a black member of that continent. Yes. And it's about not denigrating your continent in any shape or form, but being really proud and astute about it. Yes. So they've come with me on 4 of those journeys. I took them to Nigeria, obviously, Egypt, Tunisia, and Cabu Verde.
I think we saw photos of them at certain points.
Oh, yeah, on camels and speedboats, yeah.
Great. Yeah, I mean, one thing I noticed also reading was that you were very excited as a boy when you sailed, and what a journey that was. You sailed from Southampton to, was it Apapa?
Apapa.
In Lagos. You were very positive, very, very positive about all the new experiences that you had in Nigeria. And I mean, speaking from my experience in Ghana, often people are negative about the comparison between Europe and here. So that was something that struck me, actually, in reading that as a child you were extremely positive towards your new experiences in Nigeria. Yeah. Anyway, I'd love to ask more, but we do have time pressure, so. The next question is, well, you mentioned in your preface that you got rusticated, yes, as they say, from university,
yes,
for wearing leg warmers. I love that. That was just the most hilarious, culturally sort of quixotic situation. For wearing leg warmers and emulating Jean Anthony Ray, who played Leroy in Fame.
Yeah.
Once you left university, when you got rusticated, you left home, and you amazingly managed to raise the money as a young boy to go back to the UK. At the time, you felt like a disappointment to your family. And I quote from the book, "I pack a small bag and write my mother a short note telling her how much I love her and the family. I also write how my absence will prove gold in the end, as the disappointment in their hearts will one day dissolve and be replaced with pride and joy. I slip away one morning, hoping never to return." And he did indeed make it to the UK. This year, you were recognized for your work in the King's Birthday Honours List, and you are now OBE. Tell us what that feels like for you and your family in the context of what I just read.
There's a story behind that, by the way, and thank you for bringing that up. Slightly mixed feelings about the whole idea of being appointed a member, an officer of the British Empire, but I want to speak to that. It wasn't the first time. I recall way back, no, first of all, let me just say that my parents left Lagos for the UK in 1958, and they left the UK to go back to Nigeria to build a life for themselves in 1974. So that's 26 years, or 16, sorry, I do beg your pardon. 16? 16 years of working, paying tax in the UK. And they worked hard. They brought up 5 kids. And then they were happy, they had their savings, picked up their bags, handed in their British passports at Southampton Dock. They literally handed them back in. Back then in the 70s, Nigeria had a rule not to have, you weren't permitted to have dual nationality. You're either British or you're Nigerian. And my parents, they wanted they gave up their British passports and So let's fast forward now. Let's fast forward to 2001. In 2001, I had my second child. And my mother was so ardent. She wanted to come and wash her granddaughter's head, as they do. And of course, now they didn't have British passports. They applied for visas, and they got turned down. And they got turned down because they were considered way too young to be coming to England. What are they coming to do? You know, do you not have jobs of your own out there that you can stick to? Economy migrants, basically. And incidentally, I mean, it was quite painful. My mother died at the age of 66. She never got to see her granddaughter. 6 months later, I was offered an MBE, and I was a very angry black man then. I was very angry with the establishment. I was angry with God. I was angry. I was an angry black man. Yeah. I turned it down. I turned the MBE down. I had a young 3-year-old who couldn't speak to me about the decisions I was making. My partner, you know, she was supporting my decision, and everyone around me said, yeah, Femi, fuck. You know. Yeah, and so we kept quiet about that. You know, you're under embargo talking about accepting or declining the honor. And I just got on with my life. I got on with my job, doing what I do, and the beginning of this year, they came round again, and this time it was the appointment over and above the MBE, it was the OBE, and the letter came in the post, and I've got a 25-year-old now, I've got a 22-year-old, and I've got a 17-year-old, and there's my partner too. And we all sat round, and I put the letter on the table, and I said, what do I do? And I remember my son saying, have you spoken to Dad, as in Granddad in Nigeria? And I said, I couldn't possibly tell him that this has come round, you know. And they said, why? And I said, well, it will kill him. He would just say, these people are so arrogant. They came the first time, and they're coming again, you know. Remember your mother, turn it down. You must not take it. But then I had my 3 level-headed people plus my partner, and we sat and we talked about it, and we talked about it forever, right? And at the end of the day, they were saying to me, Dad, you've worked way too hard. Do it for your mother, you know. And that's why I accepted, and that's why I do have that now. In terms of what it means, I think I've spoken about the pain that it has meant being offered because of the hypocrisy of it. Yeah. And also having to explain. I think I'm going to be explaining more than talking about how it gladdens my heart to a lot of people, but I'm happy with that. I'm quite prepared to do that. But at least I've got context. I believe in what I've done. I believe in what my mother has done and my father's done. And I believe that a whole heap of their offsprings have worked to counter, and we will continue countering, arguing. I'll tell you what, it was Prince William who gave me my medal. And I recall having a 5-minute conversation with him, right? And the first thing he said to me, just about before he put it on my shoulder, on my lapel, he said, how do you feel being an officer of the British Empire for services to drama? And I said to him, well, actually, I'm quite disappointed your brother's not here to give it to me. And he laughed. And he laughed. So that's in a way, it was my way of indirectly talking to the establishment that you're not perfect, you know. But it was a great discourse because he actually did know his theatre. I was surprised that he knew who Uncle Wole Soyinka, he knew who he was. Yeah. You know, Prince William, what's going on? And he said, I have to know my things. I have to know. I'm meeting you. I have to know what I'm talking about. Absolutely. That's what he said to me. So
well, thank God they at least prepared themselves for that. Okay, because we started late, we need to be conscious of time. So I think I'll end my Q&A here for now. Find out if the audience has any questions, and then we'll go straight into the quiz. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Go ahead. Is there a microphone for the audience? Sorry. I don't think the people at the back will hear you. The microphone is coming.
Hi, thank you for your work and the video that you shared with us. That was very beautiful. I wanted to speak about, so at the beginning you said that you felt like an imposter, having run a company for 15 years that claimed to be African or bring in an African theatrical experience, but you were only Nigerian, and the work that you were doing was, based within, or was within the Nigerian context. And I wonder if you think that there's a distinction between Nigerianness as Nigerianness and Nigerianness as Africanness, and also if during your travels you have come to a certain kind of essence of if Africa has an essential quality that can be summarized, or that's the question that I have. If having visited all these 54 states or these 54 countries, you think there's a Africanness that is tangible across, the people who occupy these different countries, or, I think you get my question.
Yeah. Thank you. And that's a real challenge, actually, being completely imbued with a particular specificity of being an African, Nigerian in my case, and then going around hoping that they would respect and recognize your Africanness. And I found that I find that there was a discourse mainly on how different we are. I'm trying to say we are one. I'm being told in Mauritius that Mauritians are not African, literally. They say, so I'm bartering in a shop, as we do as a Nigerian, He says it's 50 kobo, I say 25 kobo, And then he says, why are you doing this? And I said, well, we're African. He said, no, you are African. I'm not Africano. So that, I'm up against that. But I'm not the only one, I'm sure. But there has to be a recognition that I feel that I took on board wholeheartedly without even fighting it. We as Africans and our individual aspects of being Africans are very unique within ourselves, and we want to be respected for that. You go to a French colony and you try to blag away in a market in English, you're disrespecting them. Okay, if you don't speak French, try and pick up the local indigenous language to just get by. They actually just look at you with much disdain. That, didn't you do your homework? And I respect that. But I also do accept that they are seeing a commonality between us, but the uniqueness which makes me innately different, acknowledge it too. So that's how I felt as an African, as a Nigerian, whose work was predominantly Nigerian, but professing to be African. I just felt I didn't do enough, and that's what I'm doing now. My work, I'd love to claim that the work that I'm doing now is more Pan-African than singular.
Okay.
By virtue of the fact that I visited all those places.
Sorry, we're running out. Can we just take one more or two more, but fast, quick, please, yes.
Femi, my question is, it's a memoir.
Sorry, how old are you?
Is this part of the quiz? I'm happy.
No, you need to call me Uncle Femi if you're younger than me. Or Mr. Femi. I insist.
Yes, Uncle Femi. Uncle Femi. My question is a literary question. Like, what are the memoir? Who have you gotten your inspiration? What kind of travel writing or travel memoirs did you draw your inspiration for writing this?
Kenneth Kaunda.
Yes, and of course the question is, how are you paying? Do you belong to a cult?
No, I don't.
How are you paying for this?
I earn money and I use my money to feed my soul. As if I'm feeding my belly, I'm feeding my soul. I've not been funded. No public subsidy has gone into this is a personal odyssey. Yeah?
Okay, next question, please. Very quick.
Uncle Femi, good afternoon. My question is...
Chica Jones! Sorry, I had to out you.
So my question is, in your journey through these countries, is there something you learned that is new? So not something you've had in mind before, but something that came to you through this odyssey, something new. And it might be the Africanness just spoke about. If it is, then that's fine. But if there's something new, please share. Thank you.
Very quickly.
Okay, very quickly, I've been told. Something new. The children, the young, they're braver. They're braver than our time. They are asking questions. They will come up to you and tell you about yourself, right? And I love that. And I never ever backed it, as in I never blocked it. I accepted it. DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, Kinshasa. There's a picture up there of 5 girls coming up to me, right? And they came up to me and they said, "Are you American?" I said, "No, I'm African." He said, "Then stop taking pictures of us." That was brilliant. I loved that. I loved that. In my time, we didn't have that kind of courage. So that's what I learned. The young are brave.
Okay, we're going to have to run slightly over time because we started late due to technical slowness. And
Okay.
so I'm just going to borrow 10 minutes of the next session so that we can do the quiz.
Shall we
quickly.
do this?
Yes.
Right, guys. I need, if you're not on a table, can you get on a table? We're going to have a quiz. I've got some sheets here and I've got some pencils. So let me just break it down what we're going to do. You're going to sit around the table. I'm going to give you an answer sheet. It's already self-made, one that I prepared earlier. Ubi, you're running away. I see you. Of course, your session. Go do it, girl. Succeed.
Okay,
Right. Now, each table is a group. Give yourself a group name. Right? That's as simple as that. I'll give you a pencil as well. And then there will be a quiz from a slideshow. You've got literally 15 seconds to answer each question. One sheet per table. If you haven't got a pencil, can we use this time now to give the group, choose a team name? I would really love it. I would really, really love it if you could put your phones away. I have some mobile phone police people checking each table. All right, are we ready? We're set. Okay, here we go. Three nations in the world qualify as nations completely surrounded by another country. A nation geographically located within another country. One of those nations is in Africa. Name that country. Get together, talk to each other. Question 2. Think back to question 1. What is the name of the country surrounding the nation you chose as your answer? Name that country. Chop, 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 chop. Put your phones away, oh, I can see you. Okay, which country in Africa does this flag represent? Name this country. Question 3. If you're quick enough, give your team a name. Question 4. Which country in Africa does this flag represent? Name this country. You see now? You wish you listened to your teacher. Stop looking at your phone. Stop looking. I can't see you. Question 5. Who was the first elected female head of state in Africa? Name that person. Question 6. We're almost there. How many countries in Africa begin with the letter S? Name these countries. Chop, 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 chop. Remember, there are more than 2 people on each table, so at least there is a answer for every person. Question 7. How many countries in Africa is Ghana landlocked with? How many countries in Africa is Ghana landlocked with? Name these countries. Number 8, which country in the overall of Africa is the smallest? In the overall of Africa, in the overall, it's a trick question. Question 9, which country on mainland Africa is the smallest? There's a distinction between overall and on the mainland. Question 10. There's a clue in the background. As of 2023, which city in Africa is ranked the most populated in the continent? Name this city. Question 11. Who is this famous African civil rights activist? Name this woman. Oh, yeah. Check here. Time is going. Clue in the background. Question 12. Spain, France, and one African nation have the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea as their coastlines. Name that African nation. Spain, France, and one African nation have the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea as their coastlines. Name that country. Question 13. The Nobel Prize for Literature was first awarded in 1901. How many African laureates has there been ever since? Oh, yeah. You should know your history now. The people who are representing your continent, you should know them. Okay. 2 more questions left because we've run out of time. How many African countries were colonized by Germany? Okay, and the last question, because we've run out of time, is question 25. Listen carefully to this question. Senegal, Nigeria, Gambia, and Ghana. Which nation in Africa? Let me answer the question. Let me ask the question now. Which nation? Listen, you see what you're doing now? Listen, you need to listen to the question. Which nation in Africa, in your own opinion, makes the best jollof rice? In your own opinion. In your own opinion. Oh yeah, check out. Okay, end of quiz. Right, volunteer, please, I beg. Take all the questions. Sir. You see, take their sheets. That one, wait. Oga. Take that sheet, give it to that table. Take their sheet, give it to that table. This one, give it to Annie's table. And give them, and these 2 can swap. Oh yeah, answers. Let's go. You ready? Be honest though. I don't want any cheating, no. Okay, so you think you know Africa, eh? You think you know Africa? Oh yeah, Jalo. Oh, sorry. I might be no Ejo, Mumbo. From... Here we go. So you think you know Africa? The answers. 3 nations in the world qualify as nation geography. What's the answer? Lesotho. Well done. Question 2. The name of the country surrounding the nation you chose as your answer. Well done. You're ticking, yeah? 1 mark for correct answer. Question 3. Which country in Africa does this flag represent? Burkina Faso. Question 4. Which country in Africa does this flag represent? Somalia. Very good. Okay, question 5. Who was the first elected female head of state in Africa? Name that person. Elaine Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia. Well done. Number 6. How many countries in Africa begin with the letter S? How many? Name these countries. Oh yeah? Sao Tome and Principe, Senegal, Seychelles. 8, basically. The answer is 8. If they wrote 7.5, it's wrong. Okay. Question 9. Sorry, 7. Question. Oh, hello. I've just told you the answer to that. Trigger happy. Sorry. How many countries in Africa is Ghana landlocked with? Name these countries. 3. Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, and Togo. Answer is 3. Question 8. Which country in the overall of Africa is the smallest? Name that country. Seychelles. Right? Question 9. Which country on mainland Africa is the smallest? The Gambia. Question 10. As of 2023, you Nigerians, if you don't know this one, you're in trouble. As of 2020, which city in Africa is ranked the most populated in the continent? Name this city. Lagos. Well done. Question 11. Who is this African civil rights activist? Well done. Question 12. Spain, France, and one African nation have the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea as their coastlines. Name the African country. Morocco. Well done. Well done. And I think this was the last one, right? Maybe 2 more. The Nobel Prize for Literature, how many Africans? 8. Look at them. Look at them. Look at your successors. Well done. 14. How many countries were colonized, African countries were colonized by Germany? 6. Cameroon, Burundi, Namibia, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Togo. And the final question, answer, in your own opinion, which country? I'm asking now, which country? Okay, let me just tell you, whatever answer you wrote down is correct because it's in your own opinion. So very much, thank you. Can we tally up the points? Can we tally up the points?
Okay, we'll have to.
Let's tally up the points, please. Can you just read out the group name? Akwaba, how many points? 9 points to Akwaba. Nile got 5. Well done. They got 9 too, so we got a tie at the moment. The Africans got 4. Success got 7. Any more for any more? They got 8. Okay. But we got a winner. We got 2 tying groups. Fantastic. And I've got a prize for these 2 tying groups. So go and find each other in the bar tonight. Oh, there you go. Thank you very much. That's the end of this session.
Okay.
Oh! There are 2 9s. Yes, that's what I said. You'll find yourselves tonight and drink heavily and enjoy.
Femi
Well done.
Elufowoju Jr., thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you, audience, for
Thank you. That was
for
amazing.
being a wonderful audience.
Thank you, team. Thank you.
I know. I've got another one to moderate and I'm late, so I have to really
no
I have to
wonder.
run. Yeah. No, we are like 20 minutes over schedule. It's because of the technical.